Alright, welcome back to some more Beaster Bermuda, everyone. So, for this video, we are going to cover the talents, some kind of the inherits that you can get. Because inherits are kind of hard to test, because you can get +2 in like a lot of things, but you have to mostly be bred in to do that. And me just testing them, I can't really do that too much. So, what we're going to do here is cover some of these talents that you can earn and get. We're going to cover Exhausting Bite, Sharp Teeth, Persistence, Constitution, Brawler, Bruiser, and Thick Hide. And then on the Acro, we're going to cover Serrated Teeth, and on the Moza, we're going to cover the Thrashing ability. Now, we're not going to cover the Chrono with its lunge attack, because that thing is weird, because you have to charge it. The more you charge, the more damage you do. And even if you just click it, it depends how far and how close you are to them. And it gives you different damage every single time. Trust me, I tested it over. I gave it about 40 different tries at 40 different stages of growth with 40 different people. I had my friends on here and we were testing it. And every single time I did different damage, even if it was just basic. But if you don't have any perks in anything, you do flat damage. Like this Meglo at a certain level will do a set amount of damage every single time. Like if you stayed 0.8 and you never grew any bigger than that, you would do a set amount of damage. But like I said, every time you grow, you get more damage. You get more stamina. You get more, bleed for like an Acro, depending on what stage you are on. But first we're going to cover Persistence. Now Persistence increases the maximum ability power for most attacks and abilities. It also increases the rate at which ability regenerates. More talents increase this. So, how does it increase? So, if you didn't know, with no points into it, you're at 100, no matter what growth you are. You could be growth 50, and you still will only have 100 ability, no matter what. With 1 point into it, it increases by 10%. So, 10% of 100 is 10. You'll have 110 ability. Second stage is 20. So you'll become 120. Third stage gives you 35%. So it's 35 points. You'll be at 135. Now if you have an inherit like I do, you'll be 4 stages. And at 4 stages, you get plus 50%. And you'll have 150. So if I pull this up, right here, I have 150 because I have 4 out of 3. So that means, yep, I have 150. Easy. Pretty simple in that one. Now, probably 2. I don't know how much that's an increase because it's 10, 10, 15, and then another 15. Maybe it increases by 20 next time, or maybe it increases by 15 next time. Let me know if you guys have a dinosaur that's +2 persistence, and let me know what your ability is. That way I can know, and I can have it here for myself and recover it again in another video if I go back and do more. Next one. Let's just go on down the line and then we'll move elsewhere. We're going to cover Constitution. So Constitution increases the total health pool but does not increase healing rate. How much health do you get? It doesn't tell you, and you're constantly getting more health, so how do you know? So, for health pool, or well, Constitution, it used to be health pool, so I have a bad habit of keep calling it health pool. Your first point increases it by 6%. So, you get 6% of whatever your current health is. Or your base health at your level. And that's constantly changing. At 2 points, you get 13% increase of health. And at 3 points, you get 20% increase in health. And I did a lot of tests, and unfortunately, I was unable to get +4 in Constitution. Even I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. I just am super unlucky in that. So I couldn't get it, but if I can get it, I'll cover it again. But so right there, you get an increase of 20% health, which at the beginning, not too much. But when you get big, that makes a difference. That 20% more health. Next up, let's come on down to Brawler. Increase the amount of damage you do. This talent does not increase injury damage dealt or knockback dealt. More points increase this damage further. Talent modifiers is weaker, so this talent modifier specifically is weaker than specific modifiers, such as Thrash or Sharp Teeth talent, which we'll cover here in a bit. So with just Bruiser alone, Stage 1, increase of 6%. Stage 2, increase of 13%. And Stage 3, increase of 20%. Just like your health. Both of them are the same inherent percentage growth. They're the same percentage growth. There we go. So early, it doesn't really help too much. But we're going to talk about that here in a minute when we go up to Sharp Teeth. But first, we're going to get into Bruiser. So I do have it inherit here. Sadly, I have nobody here to test it with me, so that kind of sucks. I wanted to cover this tree, and I never got inherits into this tree, except for this right now. So that's how I was able to tell right now. But this one, any of these, I never got bonus ones. So that really does suck. I did get one on the Moza, so when we go and cover Thrash, I'll show that. But for right now, Bruiser, at one stage you get 33% increase of injury. Stage 2 you get 60% increased injury damage, and at 3 points you get 100% more injury damage. And if you didn't know, right here, because I think I read it, increase the amount of injury damage from players' attacks. So you biting them, you give them more injury. Tail hits deal close to full damage with more talents invested in it. With 3 talents allows injury to be dealt on the tail hits. So what that means is early on stages with no points in Bruiser, you do not do injury damage to the tail. You won't get any damage on it. Stage 1, you have a chance depending on how your injury is. So injury works based on your growth stats, your size stats, and your health stats versus their growth stats, their health stats, and their size stats. It's very wonky, and to cover each specific person is almost impossible because you never know what growth somebody's at. They're constantly growing. They're constantly getting bigger. You're constantly growing, and you're constantly getting bigger. So I couldn't really test that specifically. I could test one person at 1 and another person at 1 and see what each one does. But what does that help you? That doesn't help you any, because you may not be playing that dinosaur and you may not be at growth 1. Because once you hit growth 1, you're like, cool, I can do, let's say, 20 injury. But now you're at 1.01 and you're like, well, now how much do I do? So just know that, though, this is just for general knowledge so you know what you're actually doing with these perks. So enough rambling, let's move on to the next one. We're going to come right up here to Sharp Teeth, what I was talking about. So with Sharp Teeth, if the dinosaur is physically bigger than you, you will deal more damage. It has to be bigger than you, not weight or size bigger than you. So this is a 2 size Meg. Okay, I grew 0.001. So what that means is I'm a little bigger. But let's say a para is the same size or same growth but is physically smaller than me. I won't get Sharp Teeth bonus damage. Only if it is physically larger than you. So remember that. Only physically larger than you. But at one stage into Sharp Teeth, you get 15% bonus increase to damage. Stage 2, you get plus 25% increase to damage. And at stage 3, you get 35% increase to damage. So 15, 25, 35. Sorry, I think I said the wrong one. But 15, 30, or sorry, talking way too damn much. 15, 25, 35. I'm assuming if you get a 4th ability, it's going to be 45. Just following the trend. But again, I couldn't test it because I never got the inherit. So, yeah, you deal more damage, but it does stack with your damage. So let's say you have this maxed out like I do. I have maxed out Brawler, I have maxed out Sharp Teeth. That means I get the 20% bonus damage from the Brawler, and then if it is larger than me, I get the 35% as well damage. So that means I get a bonus of 55 bonus damage if it's larger than me, which is pretty nutty. So if you're playing a small dinosaur, Sharp Teeth is nice, especially like a Meg, who your already character is pretty small. So even if you're a big growth level, you're still physically small. So that Sharp Teeth really helps you a lot. Now we're going to go on up to the Exhausting Bite. So, you don't do damage to stamina unless you take this perk. So, perk 1 will give you stamina damage. That is your stamina damage stat. And it will stay flat across the board. Obviously, as you grow, it's going to go up. But if you put 2 points into it, you double your exhausting damage. And at 3 points, you triple your exhausting damage that you do. That's a lot of stamina damage. Because let's say you do 15 stamina. Doesn't sound much, but if you can double it and then triple it, those numbers add up. And that's per bite. So just 1, 2, and you're golden. Now, one thing to notice here. You can't do stamina damage to the tail. If you get a tail hit, you don't do stamina damage. I tested it. I could not get stamina damage when I bit the tail. You have to get a body shot to get stamina damage. Now we're going to jump over down and finish this up for this guy on Thick Hide. Now Thick Hide sharply reduces the amount of damage taken from small hits. So remember that, small hits. Strong at mitigating against smaller creatures and creatures that do damage using many hits, such as the Velo and the Moza when it thrashes. That's considered many hits because it does like 6 to 7 bites when it thrashes you. When you click it once, you're like thrash, 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 thrash until you're out of stamina or out of ability. So those counts as small hits. So it will negate that, but only if it's smaller than you. So Apodos, Rexes, Chronos, you want to take this because you are going to be a big, huge dinosaur. So you really want this coming. Now it doesn't negate against injury damage as it says down there at the very bottom. So know that you need this one over here, Strong Bones. But I'll cover that later. It's just gonna do flat damage. So at 1 perk into Thick Hide, it reduces it by 16% damage. At 2, you get a reduced of 26% damage, and at 0.3, you get a 36% decrease of damage. I'm assuming following the trend of 16, 26, 36, that at 0.4, it's going to be 46% decrease. So, again, I couldn't test these. I never got inherits. I'm sorry. But if you do have these, that's a kind of a good rule of thumb to follow. And that's going to be it for this part right here. I need to get into a Moza and into an Acro to show you the specific ones for them. Now, I hope you guys know this. I don't know if you know this, but if you go to your options and you scroll all the way down, your damage, you can put it on screen, stamina on screen. And me, I like to put comfort on screen. So I know if like this meat is nasty. If I go to eat it and I get negative comfort popping up on my screen, I know to quit. So if you do that, that's how you can figure out these numbers and how I did it. And I'll explain it at the end of the video. But let's move on to the Acro. Alright, we are here on the Acro. Now the Acro has serrated teeth instead of sharp teeth because the Acro does bleed when it bites. So right over here, serrated teeth. Increase the amount of bleed damage you apply. Allows a boost in damage to larger prey. Higher talents increase this further. So how much? I got you. So if you're playing Acro, when you bite, you give a set amount of bleed. With 1 point, you get 27% bonus bleed and 14% increase to larger prey. At 2 points, you get 64% increase of bleed and 22% increase of damage to larger prey. And at 3 points, you get 100% more bleed. That means you double it. By the way, if you guys didn't know, that's the same thing. Saying 100% more and saying doubled are the same thing. And you get a 31% increase of damage. So it does help you, because if you're playing an Acro and you have damage and serrated teeth, you're not only getting a 51% increase of damage, but you're getting double bleed. Now, it's not as much as sharp teeth, but hey, for an Acro, that's pretty damn good. Alright, we are here on this small Moza, deep down in the waters down here. Let's swim on down. Look at that. I'm like camouflaged down here. I'm just kind of swimming down to get away from the waterfall noise. In case you guys didn't know, the further up I go, the louder that gets. And I don't want that going too loud. So, with the Moza, you have this talent right here, Powerful Neck. Increase the amount of thrash damage you do after every successful grabbing your prey. After successfully grabbing your prey. Does not increase damage done unless the prey is grabbed. So that means if you bite them, you don't do bonus damage with this. You have to have them grabbed. Is more efficient at increasing grab damage than the regular damage stat increase, which you'll see here in a second. More points further increases. So for thrashing, you get a 5% increase in your thrash damage. At rank 2, you get a 10% increase of your thrash damage. And at 3, you get a 4 or 15% increase at thrash damage. And at 4 inherits, as you're following the trend, 20%. So each inherit increases it by 5% thrash damage. That may seem pretty low, but that's because your thrash is multiple hits. So yes, your normal bite like this is probably more powerful than thrashing. But your thrash, you hit them like 6 to 7 times in like rapid succession. Now thick hide will help prevent that and give you that protection against it. But if they don't have thick hide, like if you can smell them out and you see there is speed, that thrashing is gonna shred them apart. So that's covering the last of all of them. All those damage ones. I didn't cover strong bones because I'm going to cover it later in another one. And these things, you may see it and you may think, oh hey, it's a little off. That's because you're constantly growing, and as you're testing, you have to make sure you consistently stay at a certain growth, which is very hard to do because you're constantly pressing your regrow. And you're dealing in like multiple decimals. Because if I bite somebody, it may say 200.876319 damage. Those are very, very small decimals. So what I did, I rounded it up. If it was above 5, rounded it up to the next level. If it's below 4, I rounded it down. That way it kind of stays a generalized information and it's not so nitpicky and super specific. Because it doesn't really matter because you're constantly growing. The bigger you are, the more damage you're going to do. But that covers this right here, guys, in this little damage area. And if you want, and everybody likes this video, and it does pretty good, and you guys let me know if you want me to cover the speed or over here in the comfort. Like, how much does Herb Blast give you? How long does the comfort last you when you eat the sponges, when you eat the flowers? How does it help you? How much more food do you get from Scavenger? What now can you eat? What now can you not eat with getting Scavenger? How longer food lasts? How fast you are? How much quicker you swim? How much longer your breath timer is? If you guys want to know these specifics, let me know and tell me which ones I should cover next. But for now, that's the end of this video, guys. Hopefully this helps you out and you guys can go out and kill better.